If you're on the fence of automating your business in 2025 or leading into 2026, this is a video you need to watch in order to understand where a possible framework might work for you, what automations you could be using, but how to actually identify where those automations are in the first place. I see it time and time again when a business looks to jump into AI, they try and use another tool, they build something that they might have seen someone else using, or they go and get one of these cookie cutter templates that they can just install into their business and hope it's going to give them a desired outcome. The problem with these cookie cutter templates is yes, they might fix a particular problem. However, if you have a problem that is specific to your business, whether it's a process, it's about saving time, it's removing data entry, a receptionist, using one of these copy and paste templates is going to solve a problem that could fix 20 businesses, not your specific problem. The real outcome from using AI in your business is when you start to understand exactly what you need to do within your business to fix the bottlenecks, the pain points, and the opportunities that business has, because that's the only way you're going to see the real ROI and the real benefit of using AI within your business. So that being said, what I wanted to do was run through an audit, why an audit comes first, and how to do an AI audit on your business. The very first thing to run through is, when should you start to do an audit? Now, if you have chaos within the business already, AI is only going to make things worse. What I mean by this is you need to have your processes dialed down to a T. If you haven't quite worked out how your business operates from start to finish, which might sound stupid, but sometimes businesses don't understand every single step, the more staff members they've got. This means if you've got things that are happening in the business that aren't quite dialed down, AI is only going to make them worse. AI is going to make those processes break faster, and it's going to make things much harder in the future if you haven't got them sorted. An audit is also great because it's going to start understanding debt risk. What I mean by that is half-finished systems are going to be something that you'll end up coming back to. And if these systems are not built properly, you are going to continuously be patching up work, going into those automations and making sure things are bug fixed. There's no error handlers. Things aren't breaking because you haven't built them properly, because again, you don't quite know the process from start to finish. I cannot stress how important doing an audit is. It's almost like accountancy before taxes. An audit is essential because that's how you fully understand where to implement AI in the business, not where you think it should be implemented, exactly where it should be implemented. Then I wanted to come down to the audit framework. So how it works. You need to look at bottlenecks and time sinks. This could be things like hours lost. How many people in the business are doing a particular task that they shouldn't really be doing, or is a $5 per hour task that is continuously happening week on week. If you know that there are 3 or 4 staff members within the business that are continuously doing data entry, replying to emails, updating some sort of CRM, that is hours that are being wasted when AI can come in and automate that. These are parts of the business where hours can just be eaten up doing admin, data shuffling, and can easily take up 10 to 20 hours per week, per employee, depending on what the business is doing, which doesn't need to happen. That is a huge indication that AI can be implemented into that particular process. Then we've got data and entry flow. This could be things like duplications are happening within your CRM. Data's not being updated properly, things are being left behind. And overall, when we speak to businesses, we realize that 90% of a lot of data entry is still being done by a human, and that then leaves the possibility for human error. If you feel like there's a lot of data entry and flow going on in your business, that is again a huge opportunity to where AI can be implemented. One of the things you want to look at is the tools and tech stack that you've got. So your tool inventory. How many tools are you using? Are any of them duplicated? Do you need all of them? Or can some of them talk to each other? Then we've got integrated and siloed. Are these tools integrated into your business, or are you logging into them on a daily basis? Are you manually adding data? And are your staff acting as an API? Basically sending data from one tool to the other with no automation, no integrations, and it's just manual data entry, moving data between tools. The more tools you've got, the more you will find this happens because those tools don't natively speak to each other, and that's when you can automate different movement between different stacks. What else you need to look at is the customer journey and the ops. So how does someone go from lead, sale, onboarding to payment? Do they go from one system to another tool, then they go into a CRM, then an onboarding platform, then you need to get PandaDoc to send them out a proposal, and then a contract. What you want to do is try and work through the process from start to finish, understand who is doing what at the start, what happens in the middle, what happens when the payment comes through, and then how do you onboard that client into the business. This is where you can truly start to see what opportunities might be missed, what opportunities you can use to implement AI. For example, is there any leakage in the system you've currently got? For example, people aren't being followed up with. If they show interest, they're not being contacted for 72 hours. And then at that point, they've gone somewhere else because another company got back to them quicker. If you've got leads and new business coming into the company, it's not always trying to make those sales go through. It's trying to actually nurture and get those current leads all the way through to a sale. People will drop off, which is inevitable, but it's how you get those people back into the pipeline that's the most important thing. Then the other element that you need to go through is priority mapping. So you could go through a whole process where you understand the processes, where time's being wasted, the tools you're using, how data's being moved around. But what you want to do is focus on the top 3 that are going to give you the highest return. That return doesn't necessarily need to be monetary. It could be hours. Because if you're saving a staff member 10 hours per week, that's 10 hours saved, but you've just now given them 10 hours to do a revenue generating task that they didn't have before. For example, if we can automate an onboarding process, that means one of your sales members no longer needs to do that and can either focus on client customer service or closing another client that's following behind. That is in a nutshell priority mapping. What is the highest ROI? Is it hours saved? And then focus on the highest leverage tasks. If you've identified a bottleneck that's costing 20 hours per week, but you might have found another one that's doing 5 hours per week, obviously the 20 hours per week is the one you want to focus on. Then we want to come down to why this structure works. So it's not just a survey. This isn't just a place where you try and jot everything down. You want to make sure you have everything from end to end. You really understand what sort of inefficiencies you've got, and this will clearly show you then how you can fix them. It also means you can diagnose the current systems you've got. So that could be the tools that you've got, the processes, and then essentially identify how ready for automation you are. If you find that your tools already connect to each other, or maybe you're not wasting any time in the business, you haven't got repetitive tasks, then AI might not be something for you at the minute. You might have your operations dialed down, you might not have enough going on within the business, or your staff members have just found ways to get things done at a fast rate, which means you may not need AI in the company just yet. The likelihood of that happening isn't always massive, but it's always good to see how ready you are for AI and the size of the opportunities that you've got. The beauty of doing this all together is you then get clear outcomes, you know exactly where your bottlenecks are, and you can spot where time is being wasted and how to stop that time being wasted using AI, and then prioritizing the highest ROIs first. We have actually built a custom GPT that will do a lot of this legwork for you. It consists of 10 consecutive questions. We'll ask about your business, the industry you're in, the tools that you're using, how many staff members you've got doing what, and we will then give you what we believe is the highest ROI automation for your business without you having to go too in-depth into this. It just means at a quick glance, you can see what might be worth your time, what sort of builds you can do, but it means you can start to get your processes onto paper. The link to use the custom GPT will be seen in the description below. However, moving on to next steps, we need to migrate into AI. You don't want to jump into it too quickly. You want to plan things out, run through your priority of automations from high to low, and make sure that you're not rushing things and you're building them out in a solid way. So the first thing that you then want to do is work out what tool you need to use. Is that Zapier? Is it NAN? Is it Make.com? Each has its benefits, each has its cons. Some are more expensive, some are easy to use, and some have the capability to do a lot more of complex tasks on the back end. This step is a lot more important than people think, because once you pick your tool, you want to stick with that tool. There's no point starting with Zapier and then in 2 weeks' time move over to NAN. If I was going to recommend any of these tools to use, it would definitely be Make or NAN. Make's a little bit easier to get started with. If you've got more complex automations, you're going to be doing a lot more with the actual automation itself, then you want to use NAN. You can also self-host it. So if you've got data that you want to keep private, you can do that with NAN. Then once you pick the tools, you want to start automating things, connecting, adding all of your APIs, but you don't want to do everything at once. As soon as you start to implement too many things at once, you get overwhelmed, you can't quite get things finished, and you don't have any structure in your build. You're just trying to get to the finish line. Building quality automations takes time. You don't want to rush it. You want to make sure that you have everything connected up. You've worked out any error handlings. You've worked out the logic. You want to do a phased rollout because it makes it efficient and it means it's going to work for the long term. Rushing through automations mean you're only going to get errors kick up. You're going to have to come back to them. You're going to have to spend more money getting someone to fix the problems because you rushed the process. Trying to fix automations after you've rolled them out can take weeks, especially if you've adopted to those automations to try and get them fixed. You have to turn them off, rejig everything, replan what's going to happen, why there are errors, and basically build the thing from scratch. So I would highly recommend doing 1 or 2 automations at a time. Do not rush through them. Do a strong beta and testing phase to make sure that they are working 100% before you roll them out into the company, because the last thing you want to do is let it loose. It doesn't work properly, data gets all muddled up, but now your team members are suffering because it was never tested fully in the first place. So that leaves you with two options. You can either run through the GPT that I've added in the description below. That's going to give you 3 of the highest ROI automations we think you can benefit from. It's going to give you step-by-step guidance on what those automations are going to do and a clear roadmap on how to deliver that yourself. Or you can book in a 15-minute call with us where we will do an alignment call, see how the business currently operates, if you might be a good fit to work with, if you are AI ready, and if doing a one-to-one custom audit on your business would be of benefit. Overall, that gives you a good understanding as to why an audit comes first, the sort of audit frameworks you could be doing, from bottlenecks, data entry, understanding your tools, customer journeys, priority mapping, why doing an audit works and how it's important to do, the next steps on how to start integrating AI into the business and the processes you need to go through from picking the tools to rolling out an automation one at a time. And now you know if you want to jump in and do your own custom audit yourself with our GPT, you can do below. But if you would prefer us to do it for you at a much more granular level, you can book in a call with us below.